Welcome to Office Hours. This is our last episode of 2023, and we're ending the year with a mental health episode, which we have a lot of these. So if you haven't checked it out, please go back. We've got stuff on burnout, work-life balance, just, remembering that as much as we want y'all to work hard and succeed, we also want you to rest because rest is part of success. And so today we are talking about not so guilty pleasures. And this is, I think, maybe a secret. Like, y'all don't know this about me or Sto, but we are both Real Housewives watchers. Bravo is like my decompression place that I go to. So behind the scenes, Sto and I have these conversations all the time. And today we're just going to talk about guilty pleasures and like their role in mental health, but we're going to get into a little bit of our Real Housewives opinions and dramas, maybe some Vanderpump Rules, who knows? But it's really about like, and let me say this too, because we talk a lot about like showing your personality. And so this is one of the ways like you get to know me and Sto as people and not just like these talking heads that are telling you to get a newsletter or get a website. So yeah, we're going to see how today's episode goes. I'm Nora, that's Sto. Hey, Sto.
Word. Yeah. I mean, it's really all about, we're in these times, and it's always told to us to just work, to the point where I think even some of us feel bad for relaxing and doing things that we enjoy. And so we do feel like it's important to talk about things that we enjoy, but also, again, as the year's coming to a close and whatnot, like it's okay to engage in those things and whatnot.
I think it's also like part of this episode, we talk about like guilty pleasures as if you should feel guilt for the
Mm-hmm.
things, and to me, like, oh, it's just Housewives. It's like so superficial. And whatever it is that brings you joy, as people like, you should be shameless about your hobbies, whatever brings you, especially like get joy wherever you can find it these days because it's chaos out there. And as long as you're not hurting yourself or hurting other people, like lean into it. And for me, somehow in my brain, Sto, this conversation ties into just like as creatives, I think there's a lot of shame and stigma about being a working artist or about
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so what I hope, gossip with us about Real Housewives, like we're here for all that. But what I hope people really take away from this episode is to find whatever it is that gives you joy and pleasure and be shameless about it, because that is just as important, especially for those of us who are being vulnerable and creating and doing activism work. Like, it's okay to not be on all the time. And so that's what I hope folks take away from today's episode is like there's value in turning your brain off and resting and indulging in the things that feel indulgent.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And again, if you're watching this, like leave, your guilty pleasure down below. Because the thing is going back to what Nora was saying in the beginning, like it is part of our personalities and stuff like that. And I do think there's always this stigma amongst creatives in general where, we don't talk about that stuff because we're supposed to be artists and all that jazz. But we all engage in it and we're all human beings. So discussing it, you'd be surprised actually how far discussing these things gets and how it cultivates, like, again, organic engagement. And all you did was just talk about the things that you enjoy. So, yeah.
Yeah. And there's something about, like, we've done NBA episodes, like we've talked about other things, and it doesn't carry the same like guilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, well, how dare you talk about basketball? Because somehow like that's accepted. But things like reality TV or like reality TV, Housewives, Vanderpump, it might be The Bachelor, it might be Survivor, it might be whatever like your thing is, I think carry a different stigma. And I do want to point out that a lot of that is gendered. like we see certain things as like these are women's shows and they're targeted at women and women. So there's like a genderedness to what we are supposed to enjoy and can talk about publicly, and then what we should feel ashamed of, or like, dang, that's we, whatever. And so I want to call that out, because part of leaning into joy and your mental health and your wellness is to be able to identify where the external messages are rooted in white supremacy or capitalism or patriarchy in this case, and be like, nah, we cool off that.
Right.
And so, like, I just want to name that a little bit, because I know some people will have a reaction to this in a way that they didn't have a reaction to some of our, when we were talking about like Kyrie, for example. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just watched the Vanderpump last season, and have really strong feeling. You know what it is? Okay, I'm gonna say one more thing. We don't really have a plan for this episode, y'all. So if you have thoughts, drop them in the chat, drop them in the comments. I knew Sandroid. Hey, Sandroid says, hey, y'all, my guilty pleasure is writing fan fiction. I love that. Please tell us what your guilty, not so guilty pleasure is. I'll say this and then I'll stop talking for now. The other thing for me about reality television is it's such an easy way to talk about some of the bigger issues that I care about, right? Like, sexism is hard for people to understand, or microaggressions is hard for people to understand sometimes. But then when they see Sandoval being a misogynistic piece of shit, then they see it and they have a reaction to it through this like character, the story that they're seeing. And so it opens up space to talk about some of these things. So it's also like there's a little bit of like entertainment education happening in there, where I find like people might not understand what I'm saying, but then when I can point it out, or they can watch it play out, and like, oh, that's victim blaming, or oh, that's gaslighting, they can see it and then understand it. So there's like value in pop culture in that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, it's always running rampant in reality television. So very easy to point out there for sure.
India Prather says, yo, what up, y'all? What'd you eat today, Sto?
I had some leftovers, actually. Leftover rice, chicken, broccoli.
I made rice today too. I had like rice and beans with some veggies.
Oh, nice.
All right. Talk about Housewives.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing today.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty impartial to the Housewives of Potomac. I mean, I'd watched like a season or two of Atlanta before that, and maybe a bit of New Jersey, I think, before that. But Potomac was just really, I just felt like their cast was eccentric. I felt like they had hella personality. I don't know. A lot of other Housewife franchises, I feel like, kind of fade off and have like these really bad seasons. But at least so far, I don't really feel like Potomac has had a single bad season yet. And yeah.
I have a very unpopular Potomac opinion, which is I have a real soft spot for Candace. And I know everybody hates on her, but I think that she just has a smart mouth. Oh, this is a good question. Okay, Sandroid, we're coming to this question. Actually, Sandroid wants to know, who is your favorite housewife?
Jesus. I'm probably impartial to Monique, I feel like. Yeah.
Oh, see? Okay, no. Tell me why. Let's be neutral. Tell me why Monique.
I mean, she just good personality. Before everything fell apart in terms of her family getting a divorce and all that jazz. Like, I thought that like she did a really good job with the family. wasn't putting up with a lot of stuff from the stepmother, who was kind of cooking her a little bit inappropriately. And if I'm being completely frank, I feel like Candace got what she deserved, and she clearly didn't learn her lesson, because she's still running her mouth like she like nobody's gonna step up. And so I granted, in her defense, like this season, again, with like stuff with Giselle, I feel like she has every right to be upset in that situation. But like a lot of I don't know, she says a lot of wild stuff that she probably wouldn't get away with otherwise. And the majority of us in this room would never speak like that. So before y'all come at me for liking Monique, understand that none of us in this room would speak like Candace does, ever, unless pushed to that point.
Okay, and looking at the chat, there's like, this is hilarious. India Prather says, semi-unpopular opinion, if folks got beef as depicted on reality TV, put on the gloves and enter the ring. Remember when MTV had, was it MTV? They had Celebrity Deathmatch?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Some people actually do this, but it's just been turned into this weird commodity that I don't care about.
Well, yeah, and I think, like, look,
if Monique went against Candace in the ring, are you kidding me? It would be a wrap.
Monique would destroy, and if they went like fist to fist, for sure. I think Candace gets held to a different standard than everybody else, because she says, like, I think I like Candace because she's not my favorite housewife, but speaking on this, Candace will just tell you to your face, and I respect that. Versus if you look at other people on that cast who are more messy, like Giselle is messy, capital SSY, but she just like floats and doesn't get held accountable, and no one calls her out for anything. And she's like, and so it's hard for me to see people villainize Candace when Giselle and some of the other cast members on Potomac just get away with so much. And so it feels very unequal to me. See, look, thank you, Sandroid. Boom.
I mean, it is a fair point about Candace, but I mean, I think if we look at the masses love Candace. Like,
do they? I don't know. I don't follow
definitely over like Giselle and especially these last couple of years, people getting tired of Giselle and Robin. So I don't know. I think I do think sometimes there is a different standard, but she also probably has the worst mouth legit on the cast. So how much like some of it obviously is due to like what you were saying, but some of it is legit. I seriously had, like, who has said anything just as bad as Candace?
Yeah, no, she's smart and her tongue is sharp. Like, yeah,
like, you gotta have a filter. Still,
on reality television, like everyone knows.
Not if you don't want to be seen as a villain and get attacked.
Okay, but here's my thing with Monique is that season where like Monique, like they fought or whatever, she grabbed Candace, and then they all did like the little sit down, and Monique had such a lack of like empathy or compassion.
100%.
And that for me was like, oh, that maybe was part of where I was like, oh, I don't know, it's hard for me to get behind Monique. Because if she had come and been like, you know what, I can see how, because yeah, I don't know.
I think she just needed time away before she filmed that scene. That's what I wouldn't be surprised. This is what I do. This is what I wouldn't be surprised if this is what happened. They didn't even give them that much time in between those events to even like.
That's fair.
Actually step away to like figure out like how you're feeling and stuff like that. But yes, like you should have some version of remorse, and so that's like I think that whole scene was like put together. I don't think anybody really wanted to do that. Because I don't know, just even in my head, like if that's how I was feeling, I wouldn't have showed up. Like I would have been like, nah, I need some time to cool off before I just hop in the reaction circle. So because like, of course, like you literally can't like
But cooling off,
flat a woman's face and then be like, oh no, I'm not remorseful. Like, and that was the other part, was like and she was honest though. Like shit. It would have been so much worse if she was like, yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
But see, cooling off doesn't make for good television.
Right.
Right? Like,
absolutely.
And so like, that's the other part, is at the end of the day, we're watching reality TV, and you just got to remember that it's not real, and it's scripted, and it's set up as much as we think it's real. Because if like Monique and Candace, I mean, that happened how many years ago? I think that was during like quarantine, that season. And 3 years later, we're still talking about it. Like, right? Like it makes for good entertainment. Versus if like Monique and Candace sat down and Monique was like, I'm sorry. And Candace was like, I'm sorry too. And they had a whole like restorative, like drama is entertaining. Peace is not.
Right.
100%. My favorite, to go back to the question, I think one of my favorite housewives is Lisa Rinna from Beverly Hills.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched enough. I thought you were going to say Lisa from Salt Lake, and I was about to just end the episode.
Who's Lisa from Salt? No, I don't like any of the Salt Lake people.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Like, I low-key think that half of them are just one step away from showing how racist they are.
Oh,
and
100%.
then the other half are so deeply trying to show how racist they're not, that it comes off racist. Like, there's a lot of fetishization on that show. And so it's really, honestly, on that show, Jen Shah was the most interesting. I mean, she committed fraud and screwed over a whole bunch of people.
Right. No, that's why I just like watching the implosion and explosion. That's why even this season, like one of her assistants is on the show as a cast member. So there's like, we're just kind of waiting for her to say like literally anything about what working with her was like. Cause I just can't imagine them bringing her on and her not saying something crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah. Who's Lisa Rinna again? I've probably like actually seen her.
Beverly Hills housewife, was on Beverly Hills, and she got into it with Kim Richards when she was the one that like, she was like, Kim, you're an alcoholic. And then everybody vilified Rinna for calling Kim an alcoholic. Like back seasons.
She wasn't the one that was like with freaking Frasier, right?
No, that was Camille.
Damn it.
Who was with
hold on.
Cartier says, I second that from Salt Lake City. I've always had to feel a tad uncomfy. I've always felt a tad uncomfy watching it. Yeah, it's like a little. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay. This woman. Yeah, I don't think I've seen enough episodes with her in it to even have an opinion.
I like the housewives that are like straight up and bold and like not afraid to just be honest. I have a hard
That's why I used to like Shannon Bedore, so I get it.
I can't stand Shannon. Shannon, who's also probably like a conservative ass. Like
probably the majority of the white people on Housewives. Like, come on, don't do that.
That's true.
I just liked her because like we pretty much watched her entire like actual up and down, where I feel like a lot of housewives have tried to hide it. Now, granted, I think some of it just has to do with the fact that she's like, I'm like a little off her rocker, but between the divorce, between like some of her other stuff, we really did see like a lot. And I think now it's like, now she's not necessarily a favorite because it's just she's been in the system too long. Like she's a housewife, so like there's certain stuff she's trying to hide now. and like, you know, I get it when you have blown up to that point, like there's more eyes on you and you're getting articles written about you and all that shit.
That's actually a really good point when you talk about like once they've learned how to be a housewife rather than like being a housewife, and you can start to see them like hiding things or manipulating things or like playing the system versus like people who just really come on and are like, look, this is my life.
And that's the upside I'll give Candace. Like I don't feel like she does that really. Whereas like definitely other cast members in Potomac Giselle honestly is probably the best example of a housewife like in the entire franchise.
Did her entire divorce from the cameras and actively lied about it. Like how
who?
Robin.
Wait, Giselle? Oh, Robin. Hit her divorce. What are you talking about?
Not a divorce. Wasn't her dude cheating on her and she kept it a secret all season while they were filming?
Oh, right.
Which again, like is your imperative, but if you're on a show and your castmates are putting their lives out there explicitly and you're not, like to me that just feels really unfair because you're benefiting off of other people's vulnerability.
Right, and that's why, I don't know. I just feel like the Robin Giselle train is going to crash soon. There's not much left except an actual civil war between the two. And I feel like once that happens, they're both out of here.
You mean Robin and Giselle are going to fight each other?
Yeah. Oh. That's what I think is going to happen. Oh, I don't know if you've seen like the new stuff, but like, I mean, everyone's barbecuing her over the wand stuff. And like every episode, you can just see that Robin's getting closer and closer to like, everyone just leave me freaking alone and let me handle this myself instead of cooking me every time I walk into an event. And I don't know, Giselle, I just feel like is saying some kind of like, she keeps doing the whole, I'm supporting, but I'm also going to like tear you down and make you feel like absolute garbage for having issues in your relationship. And that you shared explicitly with me, by the way, because we do this stupid podcast together. So I don't know. I just feel like at some point, Robin, between Juan fucking up and Giselle fucking up, like there's no way that it doesn't just end in some type of explosion where eventually she just dips because she doesn't even feel like she has anybody on her side. And if there's one thing I've learned about housewives is once like a housewife starts to feel iced out, like they're out of there.
Well, because I think the best, like the casts I like watching the most, there's some like camaraderie and connection.
Mm-hmm.
Like when all they do is fight and bicker over stupid shit, like that's actually not fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to be interesting. You know what I was reading I'm taking this like online course about happiness because I'm trying to learn how to be more happy. And one of the things I was reading about is the same chemical that makes us feel good when we're like around our friends or our dogs or like a partner. Television and movies evoke the same, like a fraction of it, but
right.
the same feel like can evoke the same feeling and release the same chemical. And so I'm like, oh, that makes sense then when we watch a group of friends over.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we're binging it, that there's actually like a positive chemical experience that we're having, which is why people watch like The Office over and over and over and over again, because you're actually feeling like this is safe, this is predictable, I know these people, they're my friends. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing or whatever other binge show that they're watching, right? The Office is an example, but like it makes sense then why we have such strong reactions to like fucking Housewives, because we feel like we're part of that friend group, at least chemically, if not logically.
Yeah, and even as I look back upon like the other franchises, I mean, even with like New Jersey and whatnot, like it wasn't just throw 7 people together and figure it out. Like there was actually like family friendship connection and still with Potomac, like that's why it's still hanging on by a thread, because we still I think I read somewhere that it's like it's the longest franchise that has like the most original cast or something like that that's still around or something like that. I'm not wording that right, but yeah, I just even in the beginning in season 1 where what Giselle, Robin, Charisse, I'm probably missing someone. We're all kind of at least moderately connected to each other, and we're friends outside of filming. That's what it is. You can tell when a group stops hanging out outside of filming, and they're just like, and I do feel like sometimes Potomac is approaching that point, because I feel like you just get a lot of hangout session, or like, hey, let's link up for lunch. Hey, let's link up for coffee, and then a forced group hangout where some bullshit happens. But when it was natural and you could tell that they were hanging out outside of filming, like, I think that's that camaraderie piece that you're talking about.
Yeah, when they're actually friends versus like, this is a setup.
Right. And like, even the only other thing I want to throw in real quick is like, they do that a lot these days with the whoever the new cast member is. It's like, oh, this is my friend from fucking 77 years ago when we were she was third string on the volleyball team, and I was in chemistry club. Like, what? Like, you guys don't even know each other. What are you talking about?
Do you know what I would definitely watch? Like, there's housewives that come and then they disappear, and you're like, what happened? Like, this person, there's no reference to them. It's like on the Cosby Show, not that show, Family Matters, where the daughter went upstairs and like never came back down the stairs. Like, I feel like I would watch something that's like, here's what happened to these cast members after they got bullied off the show, or after they were so uncomfortable that nobody wanted to see them on television ever again. Or because sometimes I'm like, we just spent a whole season learning about this person, investing in this person, and they just disappear. That would make a good like ultimate girls trip, the like one hit wonder club.
I hope they do something like that, because I mean, I don't know how many seasons of New Jersey exist, but I've seen all of them, and there's so many housewives. Like, they even had the rare like one where like a housewife will be there for half a season and then disappear, and it's just like, where did you go? Like, what? And so across like 20 plus seasons, like, that's a lot, and so it would be really interesting to see where they're. I mean, they do those Bravo updates, but I don't know. I ain't got time to be reading that all the time.
No, I would binge like a Ultimate Housewives series about the one hit wonders for sure. Although
some interesting ones.
Some of them don't need to come back. Like, who was the one I was talking to you about? The one that was married to the lawyer. She was insufferable. Was Beverly
from what? Beverly Hills? I don't know.
Oh, you know who else I like is Heather Dubrow.
Well, I gotta finish this season, because ever since she came back, she's been acting kind of different.
No, not Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
Salt Lake City. No, I'm tripping. Orange County.
Shit, that's Orange County lawyer. So, she was Emily.
No, I like Emily. What's her name? Oh my God, I can't remember her name. She was. It'll come to me. She was married to Sweet James, and then he divorced her during the season. And she was just delusional. I mean, anyways, it doesn't matter. It'll come to me, and that's how that's how much I disliked her, that I've like forgotten her from my brain. I do wonder sometimes if people watch themselves back and like what kind of self-reflection happens.
There is none. I mean, I'm sure there's some. I'm sure there is some, but it's just like, I don't know. How do you not cringe into like another dimension just like watching?
I don't even like watching our episodes. Like, so then you got to watch, like, and I hyper analyze everything I said and I did and Can you imagine having your whole life on camera for like 20 whatever, or 18 episodes or whatever it is, and not walk away with any kind of like self-reflection?
That's why with office hours, I just turn up the speed to like double. So it's like, I'm getting the work done, but I'm not really analyzing myself.
It's so hard. Anyways, we're at 30 minutes. We could probably.
Holy crap. Yeah. We'll have to do a part 2 at some point.
We'll do a part 2. Thank you to everyone who's like hung out with us.
Stuck around. I don't know what the hell you guys are doing here. You guys ain't got nothing to do. Ain't no water to drink. Y'all ain't.
Tell us who
y'all probably watching Housewives. I'm missing Salt Lake City right now, actually.
Someone tell Andy Cohen about my idea for the One Hit Wonders Ultimate Girls Trip. Yeah, like y'all, like have fun, right? We work hard. We do okay, look, now we got to do it. Sandrate says yes to part 2. Which then I get to justify watching TV as part of my, I'd be like, this is work. I'm preparing for
Right.
office hours. But listen, it's been a fucking year. And I know y'all have worked hard. You've put yourself out there. Take a moment to celebrate yourself. Celebrate, like, yeah, just fucking celebrate yourself. Celebrate the win. Celebrate the effort. Take a moment to love on yourself, to take a break, to indulge in whatever it is that brings you joy and pleasure and happiness, no matter how silly or nonsensical or whatever it might be. Because it's a marathon, not a sprint. And Sto and I are here to support you. Yeah, we're rooting for you.
Yeah, seriously. Thanks for coming by for this episode. Thanks for joining us this year. Make sure you go back 70 episodes. Tons of stuff to soak in. Listen, especially as the holidays, keep gearing up. Take some time for yourself. Take some time to rest. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Drink water. Make sure you're eating. Some of y'all at this exact moment should be resting and not worrying about work. Don't do that. Okay. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a chance. You've already been busting your ass all year long. You can relax for a second. All right. Yeah. Thank you all for the support. Every time I feel like this happens, like we're entering year 3, 4, I don't even know anymore. But I'm always surprised by the support that continues to pour in, and we just, we want to make sure we're doing our piece and our part. So if you have any show ideas, let us know. If there's anything you accomplished this year, let us know. Drop it in the comments. Okay. We're trying to build here. All right. So, yeah, as the year comes to a close, we thank you all for joining us, and we're going to be back better than ever next year.
Thanks, y'all.
All right.